Hey, it's Kevin. Thanks for stopping by another No BS social media chat. You know, it's funny. I'm very blessed to have a wife who was once in the media business, and that's where we met. And so she understands what we went through in media. And it's funny now that I'm in social media, she's a participant, but it doesn't drive her life like it drives mine. Years ago, it's funny. She was working for a radio consultant, and back in the late '90s, she was starting to do more website elements, some HTML coding, if you will. And I remember her saying to me, in 10 years, I don't want to see myself, coding websites for a living. And she got back into radio at that point. It's funny, then 10 years later, what was I doing? Spending a lot of time, HTML coding and doing websites and doing social media. And I kind of chuckled, where I've always enjoyed that back end of it. She's taken more of an approach of just a normal, average, everyday person. And one day we were driving down the road, we were driving through the backwoods of Tennessee, just talking as we were going from one place to another. And we got to talking about the fact is that she's connecting now with more of her high school friends from Indiana than ever before. And I said, it's funny, we've been together, 20 plus years, and I don't know most of these people. Because again, I came when we were in our work years, so I came after her college and high school years. And these people weren't really a part of the social circle that I met, that I knew, that I've connected with. And I asked her, why all of a sudden are you connecting with these people? And she looked at me and said, dead straight, it's Facebook. Because she's been able to be a part of their lives again, no matter how far away they are. And all those little things, the reason why you didn't hang out with them as much in high school, you had a boyfriend, you had a girlfriend, you were on a sports team they weren't on, whatever it is, you were in a club they weren't in, it all goes by the wayside 20, 30 years later on. And that was just such a great insight to me about social media. Why do people spend time on social media? To connect with their friends, to connect with brands, to connect with bands, to connect with whomever. Again, notice the word connect keeps coming up, and it keeps coming up in all of these videos because it's about building that connection. It's about building a bond. It's about building a friendship. Whenever I talk about your social media connections, I usually use the phrase fans, followers, friends, because there are different levels. To me, a fan is the most, the least personable of a connection. Someone who's a fan of yours, it's almost a one-way street. They look up to you, you don't pay any attention to them. You would hope you would. A follower is somebody who just kind of pays attention to your website. It's kind of in between. When it comes to friendship status, that's when it's more important. When I was in radio, I don't want to say I looked down at some listeners, but I didn't pay as much attention to some listeners as I did others because of that connection. And there are some radio listeners who, go back 20, 30 years in my radio career, who I still connect with online. I made an impact in their life in some way, shape, or form, and I really have come to appreciate that. So think about that when you're interacting with your fans, your followers, your friends. I don't want to say you want to grow them from fan status to friend status. Friend's a funny word. Friend's a word I think we all have a unique definition in our mind of what a friend is. But think about building a bond with a person. Again, I don't care if it's through Facebook, I don't care if it's through Twitter, I don't care whatever it is. As I've been able to build bonds, I have bonds with people on Instagram, people I've never met, people who I appreciate their vision, I appreciate their humor, I appreciate their look at life, how it's skewed, much like mine is. And if you ever get the chance to meet those people, you either are more connected to them after meeting them, or you find out that's just a partial part of who they are and you're not as connected. That's the rub about connecting in person. That's the rub about meeting face to face. That's why the face-to-face bond is the most important bond. But again, how do people use Facebook? To stay connected with people they've known through the years, to stay connected with family. I have more connection with some of my cousins and some of my nieces and nephews now than ever before because they're scattered everywhere from Missouri to Florida to Indiana to points all around because of the internet. Because of Facebook, because of Twitter, whatever their personal site they like to spend time on. I spend time on all of them. I have my own personal favorites too. I mean, you want to find me and see what I'm doing, what I'm into, Instagram's the place to find me 9 times out of 10. I'm not as connected on Facebook anymore. And again, it's because of who I am connected with on Facebook and how they use it and how it is. So think about it. And I guess over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks where we talked about understanding your audience, we've talked about, really building the bond and social media fatigue. I don't want to say this is a culmination of all those posts, but really it almost is that. And it took my wife to kind of trigger that knowledge to me. And it wasn't that she was paying attention to the videos. It was just talking about how she uses social media as just a normal, average, everyday person. And I think when we're using it for business, when we're using it to grow our following, whether we're in the media, whether we're in the music business, whether we're a charitable, whether we're a company, whatever it is, It's important to realize we have to understand the audience, and more importantly, we have to understand why they're using it. Not just understanding your audience, just not knowing who your audience is, but understanding how they're using it and try to fit into that as most comfortable as you can. If you truly build a bond and truly build a connection, you keep talking about bond building, about building a connection. It's a two-way street. It's not about just them paying attention to you. Because if that's all you're going to do is try to broadcast your messages out there with no connectivity, with no response, you're not going to see much response. I don't care whether that's likes or retweets or shares or whatever it is, whatever particular social media site it uses, comments, it doesn't matter. Just because people aren't commenting doesn't mean it's not resonating. You have to understand how they're using it. You have to understand and want them to be a part of your world. It's not about the number of people you're connected with. It's about the quality of the bond. Back next week, another No BS social media chat. Online, well, you can find me, my email address, my phone number, it's all coming up. IntensityMedia.com, our main website. You can find us No BS Social. All of these videos that we do are right there on NoBSSocial.com as well as on YouTube next week. See you later.